Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a video on an experience that I had with the front suspension of my Team Bomber. Now, all the components here, like the aluminum caster block and the aluminum bulkhead, they're perfectly fine. But what happened was a couple of weekends ago during a race meet, I clapped the side of the board fairly hard. I actually broke the steering block. And I thought that was the only thing that I had damaged when I had, taken the car apart and examined everything. But lo and behold, I actually damaged or tweaked the lower arm. And, the lower arm is quite a thick and robust piece of plastic. And I really didn't think of it much. And, I went back out on the track and I just noticed the car wasn't handling right. And so I brought it back and I just knew something wasn't right with the front suspension. And so, I took it apart and, I examined, the bulkheads, both left and right, to make sure that they weren't bent due to the impact. You don't know with materials and the impact, the force that's been exerted on. So I measured, I put this on a flat surface and checked to see if it was tweaked. The aluminum was tweaked. It wasn't. I checked the upper block. It wasn't. I thought, oh, well, maybe it's the upper arm here, some way, somehow, it's tweaked. And then I came down to two things. I thought it was the lower arm or the axle that was bent. And how I figured out that it was either one of the two is I basically took the wheels off, front and rear. I went ahead and I just measured with a height gauge. I think I used like a touring car droop gauge, with like the steps. And I just slid the droop gauge under the front axle here just to see what the height is on the gauge on this side. And I think it was like 6 millimeters, close to 6 millimeters on the gauge. So I decided to check and see if it was the same on this side. And it wasn't, actually. It was 5 millimeters. And so I knew something was up. I knew something was wrong. And so I knew for a fact that I'd clapped the boards really hard on this side. And so I thought, well, what I'll do is I have an extra package of lower arms. I'll replace the lower arm and see what happens. And while tearing it apart, I decided to take the axle off and see whether or not the axle was bent. Luckily enough, the axle wasn't bent. So I put that back, put everything back together, and everything was fine with the block, the steering block, and the axle. This was actually after the fact I changed the steering block. I just, brand new steering block. I had to check the axle to make sure it was okay, which it was. And then I just simply replaced this lower arm, and lo and behold, it was the lower arm that was tweaked. And so once I got that sorted out, everything was working perfectly fine. So yeah, these lower arms, they can take a beating once in a while, but if you have like a hard clap into the boards, these arms can get damaged or tweaked. So if you do have such an impact, or you do break the steering block, or if you break any other components, really check the lower arm, by comparing the heights of both sides. Okay? I hope this video was a help. I'm just kind of sharing you the experiences that I've had and just what to look out for if you do have a crash or an accident. Okay, bye-bye.